I want to bring in John Aravosis, a gay rights activist and the editor for America Blog. John, some powerful statements from what we heard. Here's what stood out to me. He said progress is led by ordinary citizens, by love, by regard for other people. What do you think of it?
No, I mean, I think it was a good speech. I think it was the speech I expected and perhaps not exactly the speech I would have liked, meaning I think the president did a victory lap. You know, I got to follow a lot of the speech on Twitter, and he talked about some of the successes, don't ask, don't tell, you know, hospital visitation rights, passing the hate crimes bill, and things that are very good and important. He didn't really lay out a roadmap as to what is he planning on doing, for example, for the next year. He's got another year in office, hopefully another 4 years. Is he planning on doing anything about marriage again? You know, is he planning on coming out and saying he's for same-sex marriage? Is he planning on doing anything about non-discrimination with federal contracts? I mean, one thing he could do is issue an executive order that says we won't do business, the federal government won't do business with anyone who doesn't adopt a non-discrimination policy covering gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender people. There are a number of steps he could take to, I think, really solidify the vote with progressive, but particularly the gay community. It might have been nice to have heard that in this speech.
So you're thinking it was more on the surface in terms of his speech. There is no doubt that President Obama is one of the best speakers. Do you think this will become a wedge in the 2012 election? Do you think this will be a problem? Because you said he didn't lay out anything really specific that you wanted to hear.
Well, I think there are two wedges, perhaps, okay? One wedge, which I think none of us expected totally, was the president mentioned during the speech again tonight how a gay soldier was booed during the last Republican debate. They showed a YouTube clip of him asking the question, and he said, you know, I'm a soldier serving in Iraq, and I am gay. Snyder-Hill is his name. And the audience booed, and none of the 9 Republicans on stage said anything. The president has now brought this up 2 or 3 times. VP Biden has brought it up 2 or 3 times. Speaker Pelosi has now brought it up on the Ellen Show. Clearly, the Democratic leadership sees this as an opportunity to show how the Democrats are different than the Republicans. And ironically, basically, you have gay soldiers becoming a wedge issue to make the Republicans look bad. I think it's great, but it also shows to what degree I think the gay issue has changed over the years, where now it's an issue that really isn't as dangerous for Democrats. They're actually able to use it in a positive way to rally their own base, but it actually makes the Republicans look bad when any kind of an anti-gay animus is shown on their side. So I think that's the first wedge. The second wedge is, look, there's been a lot of conflict with the president and the gay community over the last 3 years that has certainly started to turn around. The repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, historic and very important. I mean, I've been a critic of the president and also a strong supporter. That really mattered to me that he pulled that off. That was great.
John, I know it's early and he just wrapped up his speech. What do you expect to hear on your website and your blog?
Oh, I expect to hear my readers say that he didn't come out for marriage. He didn't say anything about this executive order on non-discrimination, and they're going to think it's pablum. I think, briefly, a lot of concern the left has had the last few years is that the president is a great speaker, but they've heard a lot of speeches, and they'd like to see a lot of action now. We have begun to see the president act on a number of things these last couple of weeks. I think he really has turned around in many ways and become a fierce advocate on a number of issues, something the American people want. He wanted to stand up and fight. He's starting to do that. But I think he needs to not just give speeches, he needs to prove to people he's a fighter. He's starting to do it, but that's what we want to see over the next year on gay issues, but on all issues nationwide.
Earlier tonight, before you heard him speak, and we're following him on Twitter, did you anticipate anything different? Were you hoping?
I didn't anticipate anything different. You know, I would have liked to have heard him talk more about marriage in general. He mentioned he doesn't like these ballot initiatives to ban gay marriage in the states, but he didn't mention which states. They're actually happening in North Carolina and Minnesota. Might have been nice to give more detail and say, I am against what is happening in Minnesota and North Carolina. That would help. I think it would have been nice for him just to talk. He says he's evolving on gay marriage, a quote that he actually gave to my deputy, Joe Sudbay, in an interview Joe did with him. He's evolving. That's good, but maybe to hear him talk a little bit more about his evolving on gay marriage and how evolved he's gotten. I just think it's a topic that's hard to ignore now. Gay marriage really has become, you know, sort of the #1 topic in gay politics, whether intended or not. The recent victory in New York, my gosh, I mean, it just put it front and center as no longer sort of a dream. It's something real that we can achieve. So I think it might have been nice to have heard a little bit more about that.
We
too.
only have a couple seconds left, but it seems like the politically correct thing to say these days is that people are for civil unions. I mentioned earlier Governor Chris Christie, who says, no, I'm not running for the president. He's of my home state, New Jersey.
Right.
He said he's for civil unions. So it seems as though that's what people are saying. They don't want to cross the line into accepting gay marriage. What do you think?
Well, it depends. That was the politically correct thing in 2000. Now you've got Republicans like Dick Cheney saying he's okay with gay marriage. I think in the Republican Party, it's really evolved now. Ken Mehlman, the former party chair, who now is openly gay and helping raise money for the gay marriage fight. I think it's no longer politically correct to say you're for civil unions. If anything, it's politically incorrect for any politician, but particularly a Democratic politician who is expected to be at the forefront of civil rights. You've got to be for same-sex marriage now, or I think you're getting a little out of touch.
John Aravosis, great talking to you. Great conversation.
Thank you.
Great meeting you. Appreciate it.